Okay. Rabbi Yisrael Rosenberg of the Techeiles Chabura is going to be giving a shir on Techeiles, and there will be questions fielded after.
Shalom Bracha, everyone. We'll be giving now a share on the topic of Techeiles. There's a Chashav Rav in Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Kallus. I'll just read up a little bit what I found about on him. Rabbi Kallus is thought after speaker in many yeshivas and seminaries. In addition to giving a shir in Aderes HaTorah every Friday, Rabbi Kallus is a Rebbe in Yeshivas HaTorah Or in Beis Yisrael and serves as a Rosh Kol of the second Seder Kol for Halacha that boasts 150 members. His dynamic, engaging style and sharp wit have the Bachrim relating to halacha in a very real way. Rabbi Kallus is the author of Wine, Whiskey, and Halacha of the Laws of Yichud. Rabbi Kallus has given over 14,000 shurim over the past 10 plus years and released 3 books and a lot of more chashuv things. Rabbi Kallus is a well-known lecturer in many, many places. So Rabbi Kallus gave a shir against the Techeiles, which many, many people started to wear. So I would like to discuss different topics, different things he discussed, and B'ezras Hashem get a clarification in what the people that do wear on this, what do they hold on this topic. Today is the Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, it's a fast day. The Rambam writes, there's an interesting introduction. The Rambam writes that the whole reason why the Eibishter made the Chorban Beis Hamikdash and sent us in Galus is why if we're going to leave go of the Torah and we're going to be Isaac in all the Hevlei Hazman, the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take away all the good things we have. If we don't use it for the right way of Torah, he's going to take it away from us. Because the Gashmias helped us not do the right things, so he's going to take it away from us, and that's going to cause us not to be able to do the Torah mitzvahs in Galus. It may be aleim kol harois hamoinen oizam eliknes olam haba. Rambam says that the tachlis of Galus is a einish for not keeping the mitzvahs, so we can't do the mitzvahs. It's interesting, all in the Darius Klal Yisrael weren't able to do many mitzvahs. They weren't able to do Dalminim, they weren't able to sleep in the sick of hundreds of years for the cold, and they were the Sefer Torahs in the times of the Goinim and the Rishonim were, many of them weren't kosher. Many mitzvahs. Moshe writes that most of the places in Galus we didn't have wine. The list goes on and on of mitzvahs that even mitzvahs that please, not please arts, mitzvahs that kafta the gavra we weren't able to do because that is einish of Galus. In today's days, the Eibishter gave us the opportunity to do many more mitzvahs. The question is why? What is why? What do we deserve that we have the opportunity to do mitzvahs that Kallus and Galus weren't able to do? So I heard an interesting word. The Rambam writes that the Chachamim and Nevi'im are only interested in Yemais Mashiach not to be shadot on the Umas Olam. The Kallus should be able to do. The reason why we hope for Mashiach that we should have time to learn Torah and we do the mitzvahs, and no one should stop us from that. In order to be able to the opposite from Galus, that's the Moshe Mashiach, and give us an opportunity to do Torah mitzvahs. So someone said that the Eibishter is giving us now. He wants to see Taka if we're going to take the opportunity, use the opportunity of the mitzvahs that we have now to be koine chayil elam haba. That's what he's giving us to Nisai now before Mashiach. He wants to see if we're going to use it now, like that he'll give it to us fully. So let's see if Taka, the Eibishter, is giving us the opportunity to do the mitzvah from Techeiles, maybe not. This is the discussion we'll be speaking about. There's 3 reasons that I want to give this shir. I'm not a Maggid shir. I'm not anyone that's really right for this. But I think I have learned this subject for many years, so I think there's 3 good reasons I should give this share. The Rav is a chashuv Rav, like we spoke about before, and this shir I've seen entire airtime. Already over 1,000 people have seen it. A couple of people sent it to me to ask me what I have to say about it. That itself is a reason to clarify what the position of those that what's the position of those that hold of Techeiles. What do they hold? The Rav gave his shir very geshmak shir. The Olam, he makes it. One of the reasons why the Olam likes the Rav, Rabbi Kallus, is because he's very personal. He's very geshmak. He makes jokes, and the Olam stays fresh. And this shir, the Rav from beginning to end is being mezalzel, is joking all about those people that wear Techeiles, and he's being misleitzes from beginning to end. I don't know if he probably didn't mean it, but that's the way it's observed by anyone that's listening. Comes out to feel that these people are just coming from space and they don't know what they're doing, and it's one big joke. I think we have thousands of Talmidei Chachamim, many chashuv rabbanim that are wearing Techeiles. I think that itself is a reason to respond and explain their position. But the most important part, for me at least, is to put forward things which are usually not discussed by people that all the people that come out against Techeiles. They leave out very crucial information. Basically, the Hagdama to the shir is always left out, and I would like to give that Hagdama, and like that, hopefully, we'll see some clarification. This is Hagdama for Techeiles, even those that hold Techeiles or those that are against Techeiles. This is the Hagdama that should be given every time we discuss shirim. This is the basics, black and white ideas that everyone should know before learning the sugya of Techeiles. It's clear from the shir that the Rav's information, the people who gave the Rav information, misled him. It's not even a question. From the beginning to the end, I'm not sure. The Rav said he sat down 5 hours with people that try to convince him it is Techeiles. Even those people must have not given him the right information, as we'll see along the whole shir. This is one of the reasons why many Rabbanim don't want to put themselves in the shir, is because there are many people that don't give over the information the right way, and they're not confident that they will be getting the right information, so they don't want to put themselves in the subject, which is a complicated subject. Okay, now in the whole shir, every shir someone gives there's two aspects to the shir. There's the overall feeling when someone comes away from the shir, and then there's the actual details of the shir. Every shir, there's two people that, and you come to the shir, there's two points for the shir. The people that are being Isaac in the sugya, they're learning the sugya. For them, the details are very important. Most people are usually don't know the details of the shir. For them, when they come away from the shir, they usually come away with the overall feeling we get from the shir, which doesn't have to be there. Forget the details. Rashi says on the Gemara, Agri Kalo Doichka, that when Kallus came together in times of the Gemara to listen to the shir, thousands of people, the main schar was what they used to come together and squished. And Rashi explains because the details of the shir usually get forgotten, so they don't have schar in that. But it's more what they they squish together and they matriach themselves to listen to the shir. That's the main schar they got. So that's what we're saying. There's two things. There's the details, which most people don't know. Then there's the ruach, the overall of the shir. In the Rav shir, these two details are very clear. The ruach from the shir is that first we'll discuss the Ruach of the Shir, then we'll discuss the details. The Ruach of the Shir is that the people that are wearing Techeiles are not choshesh for what the Gedolei Yisrael say. Of course, you'll always find one or two Gedolim that hold what they're saying, one or two Rabbanim that hold what they're saying, but the masses, the Rabbanim are, the popular understanding is the Rabbanim are against it. And these people that are putting it on are going, doing things. That's number one. Number two is that they're doing something which is against the Messiah. Two parts of the Messiah. One, the Rav puts down that we know the Messiah is that Techeiles is nignas. We don't have Techeiles anymore. How could you put it on? The Rav actually said, even if you would prove me that you have the right Techeiles, and I'm convinced, still the Messiah is that it's nignas. That was one Messiah the Rav said. We have another Messiah the Rav said. We know all our Rebbeim, all the Doris taught us that the Chalas is a fish. Now people are coming to say it's a snail. New York's chocolate, somehow it's snail. No. These people are against the Messiah. Against the Gedolim and against the Messiah. Not only that, they're against all the Rishonim. How about that? There are 17 Rishonim, at least 17 Rishonim, minimum 17 Rishonim, that it doesn't shtim, it's against 17 Rishonim. And the Rav is very clear, very strong, that even in some of the things they try to push in and make it work. But most of the Rishonim, they agreed it doesn't work out. But they say that if the Rishonim would have known what the Chalas is Murik Struckless, then they would say different. And this the Rav gets very upset, and he says, and obviously all those people that agree that are saying against the Rishonim, they are lachamerim. Rav is very clear on that. And that's what the Rav says. The agreement is of all those that hold of Techeiles overall agree that they're saying things is against the Rishonim, but the Rishonim wasn't zeicher to know the Chalazon, that it's a snail, so that's why they got it wrong. So overall, someone comes away from the shir, gets the details. The people that are wearing Techeiles today are against the Gedolim, against the Messiah, and against the Rishonim. Yeah, they might have some archaeological finding, but that's not us Jews, we don't go with that. Basically, the people that are wearing Techeiles today are in a serious situation. Just keep away from them. He didn't say that, but obviously, if that is what they hold, then the outcome is obvious. So, okay, so I would like to make a few points. The Rav stated that the whole Techeiles started with Dr. Zayderman. I was there to speak to him today. He was nice of him to call me up. We had a nice discussion. Just to point out a few facts, the Techeiles really started with a Yid. His name is Rabbi Kallus. He's a Marbetz Torah. I was there to sit with him once. He's a Talmid Chacham, a Yer Shamayim, a tzniusdik person. It's a Pella. That's the person that brought up the Sugi from Techeiles has never shown his face in public, almost very rarely shown his face in public. He's mamish a person which when I was speaking to him and I sat with him, it sounded like I had to pull out the words from his mouth. Very tzniusdik person. The way it started was the Rabbi Tevger, who today is Isaac in the Batz Torah. He was learning in the Old City, and he learning Hilchos Tzitzis. This part wasn't this is as far as I understand. And he took it a little further and went into the Lamaisa about Techeiles and did his research. Now, there's a sefer called Shmuel B'Doirei from Rabbi Shmuel Orbach. Over there, he brings down the details because Rabbi Tevger, in the beginning of when he did his research, he didn't publicize it before he spoke to a Gadol Yisrael, Rabbi Shmuel Orbach Zatzal. The way they bring it down over here is that Rabbi Tevger learned the sugya, the mitzias and the halachas, and he wrote a mimer. Chinas Chadash's being at Techeiles, and he came to Rabbi Shmuel Orbach to discuss it. So Shmuel Orbach told him he should be mefarsim it between the loimdim. The Shmuel Orbach himself, a few times he called up Rabbi Yosef Buxbaum, the Rosh Mechani Shalayim, in order to get his mimer in the Maria, the Kovitz Maria. Rabbi Shmuel Orbach himself said he doesn't want to get into it. He doesn't have time. He's very, very busy with his yeshiva. And he's not misugel to go through details. He held that anyone that's not misugel to go through it, he's not mechuyev, and he can be samech on the gedolim that are not wearing it. He writes over there in this book that Rabbi Shmuel says he doesn't understand what the whole problem, what's the whole issue over here. The Gemara says it's not worse than Lavan. So there shouldn't be any problem with the whole. If it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. One time, Rabbi Tevger asked him for a haskama hamlatza, not haskama hamlatza. He wants to go to the gedolim to speak to them. They shouldn't think that he's meshuga. And so Shmuel Orbach persuaded him he should not go. He should not go. He laughed and he says he's not going to give this letter. First of all, you have no chiyuv to go between the Gedolei Yisrael. All you should do is fasten it, and then whatever happens, happens. It's not up to you. And the second thing is, if you go to Gedolei Yisrael, nothing's gonna come out of it. So there's no tachlis. And he said, if you're for sure, if you're 100%, that it's it, you're mechuyev to wear it. Because that's how, just to set the record straight, that's how the Techeiles sugya started. The hamlotzes and with the Shmuel Orbach pushing him to mefarsim and encouraging him very strongly on the whole topic. Really, it's not negay who, doesn't make a difference who has started it. You know, the Mishnah says that the Tanoim were shtel halachas based on two weavers over there. It's not negay who the person is. Depends what's being said, doesn't make a difference who's saying it. Okay, what do I want from this? What I want from this is that this started in the over 30 years ago. Since then, the sugya developed. We have a whole sugya, Sfarim and Pansfarim, that talk about what exactly the details of the sugya. And Panim Chadash Balakan. Anyone, it's impossible. It's incorrect to go back to information that was around 30 years ago after tens and hundreds and thousands of Talmidei Chachamim went through the sugya. And the sugya today is a different sugya. Of course, the details and a lot of the details of Rabbi Kallus and his mimer, the basics can be still around, but there's a whole new panim, and that's the sugya today's days. What I mean to say is, in today's days, we have Gedolei HaPoskim. I actually myself have only gone through a little bit of Rabbi Tevger's work. I've only been siachis to all what was said in the last 10, 15 years. Of course, it's irrelevant for what was said then. What we have now in front of us, that's the main thing. We have Gedolei HaPoskim actually that say that the Miyurach Trunkelis is the Chilaz Techeiles. We have 6 Gedolei Achronim which refer to the Miyurach Trunkelis as the Chilaz Techeiles. This is something which the Rav did not speak from the beginning to the end of the shir. This is not something which, you listen to the shir, it sounds like there are a few Yingalite, there are a few Avrechim, troublemakers, every now and then they come up with a new idea, a new trouble to make. This is what, and they're trying to make trouble. And let's see if the troublemakers are, maybe they hit it now, maybe not. That's usually the topic. Most of the people that come out against Techeiles do not mention at once any of these Gedolei Achronim which hold that the Miyurach Trunkelis is the Chilazim. The Gedolei Achronim are supposed to set the tone for the sugya. They are the neshama from the sugya. We can figure it out. We can be done if they're right or they're wrong. But they are supposed to set the tone for the sugya. And one of the reasons why those that are misnagid to the Techeiles don't ever say it in the shirim, and if they do, in the Kontrasim, They say that they are making a mistake. They didn't know. If they would know that Shmir Strongulus, they would say, oh, that's for sure not it. That's the most common answer. But usually they don't even talk about it. And the reason is because most of the time, the point of those that are Masnaget Techeiles is to bring out how these people don't go according to Gedolim. And if it would be said that we have Gedolah Achronim that hold that this is the Chilas and Techeiles, not scientists, not Yingelite, not Talmid Chachamim. We're talking about Gedolah Achronim, Gedolah Paiskim, that hold this is the Chilas and Techeiles. The whole narrative wouldn't exist anymore. And as I said, I believe the Rav does not know these Achronim exist. He doesn't even mention it from beginning to end. It's clear that the Rav did not get his information from those who have the interest of the mitzvah Techeiles in mind, only from those that have the interest of a certain narrative. So, who are those Gedolah Achronim? There's a Sefer Shiltei HaGeborim and Hilchos Klei HaMikdash. He's quoted by the Kadmonim, by the Tesis Yantif a few times, the Pri Chadash, the Birkei Yosef, the Chassam Sofer, many Gedolah Achronim bring him down. Rabbi Haram Haroife. He writes in Hilchos Klei HaMikdash, Perik Ayin Tes, Remesh Hayam Shenikar Papura, the creature of the ocean creature which is called Papura, Vihi Chalazayin Shitzovim B'Yisat Techeiles. That's the Chalaz in which they make Techeiles from. Clearly stated by one of the Gedolah Achronim that the Purpura, which is the Murex Trunculus, is the other name, is the Chilaz in which they make Techeiles from. The Chabas Yor and Shulchan Aruch Mekor Chaim, Simin Yudches, Sif Cotton Gimel, writes, this is a halacha sefer. B'chidishim, he goes in the Ksafti, the Dam Chilazin Shetzovim B'Techeiles, the Dam Chilazin that we make Techeiles, Ein Blo, Rak Tzava Purpur, Shenase Midog Shenikra Hadag Purpur. The Chilazin comes from, he speaks about the dog, that's a different discussion what he means, but it comes from a dog which is called purpur. Dog, as we'll see, has different meanings, but he's clearly stating that it comes from a creature from the ocean which is called purpur. The purpur, just like the Shiltei HaGeborim. Rosham Shafol Hirsch writes, on the pasuk B'Smuni Tuni Chol, Chilazin, the Chazal says it's going in the Chilazin, Purpur Shnecker. It's the Purpur Shnecker. The Shnecker in Yiddish is a snail, and he's saying that the Chilazin comes from the purpur snail. In the Sefer Te'af Sereim, it's a Persian Yiraim, which was in Spashat, a lot of Klal Yisrael. In Klal Yisrael, he writes, the Chilazin which they make Techeiles from, he hanikra Chilazin adoimi Purpur Shnecker. He says it's also the same words as the Rasham Shmuel Hirsch, called Purpur Shnecker. And then we have another two Gedolah Achronim, the Yavitz and Radal. They don't say the name, but what they say is they refer to what all the Ummah Olam speak about, which is Muskim, side by those that hold Techeiles, and side by those that disagree with Techeiles, that all these books are talking about the Murex Trunculus, the Papura. And the Yavitz actually asks a question from these books on Chazal, because we find it in Pirkei Lezer that the Chilazon came from the Kineres. So the question is, how does that stem? The Gemara says that it comes from Mediterranean, and he says the Kedava, just like Misom the Tzur Haifa, that's what the Gemara says, and he says the Kedava is a mamish kosvi gam sefer iris olam yesh kaisve yesh medinas. He's right. All the people that are writing the history write that there's the Sefer English Olam write that there in this place where Chazal clearly say we know from the historical, from the Metzias, that's where they made Techeiles all the generations. And how could Chazal say in Pirkei Lezer that it's in the Yam Kineres? And the Radal on Pirkei Lezer basically quotes this Yavitz. He writes that it's he asked the same question, and he brings the same Gemara, and he brings this from the Ummah Olam, that we know that the Chilazin is exact in the Mediterranean over there, Mentul Haifa. How could Chazal say it's Yam Kineres? They're clearly referring to the famous Murex Trunculus, the Purpura, which all the books discussed as the dying in those days. And they're naming off the Pasha, that was the Chilazon. So we have 6 Udela Achronim, Rebbe Avraham Aroifa, the Shota Gebarim, the Chavis Yod, Yavitz, Radal, Shamshigul, Fal Hirsch, the Te'afis Reim, they all say that the Miruk's Trunculus, the Papura, is the Chilazon Techeiles. None of them is mentioned even once throughout the whole shir. This should be the beginning. This is the basics. The Udela Achronim, like the Rav says, they're supposed to set the tone for the whole sugya. Okay, we could deal with it, see if they're accurate. We could discuss it, the Kadaka Shel Torah, but that is the basis of the whole sugya. So we're not talking about Yungalite. The question when we start the sugya from Techeiles, we have to ask ourselves: were Gedolei Achronim right, or are they wrong? Are we this that we're not wearing the Miruk's Trunculus, which is not according to Gedolei Achronim? Is that appropriate or is that not appropriate? That's the question that should be asked. The question shouldn't be asked, are the Yingalite that decided to make a tumul, are they right or wrong? That's not the question. The appropriate way to ask it is the Gedolei Achronim that wrote this thing, some of them, Lahalacha Lamaisa, the Chavis Yor quotes it in his Sefer Mekar Chaim, are they right or are they wrong? That should be the discussion. Now, there's a lot of more Maramakomis, black and white Maramakomis on this subject, which was also not mentioned even once. All that the Rav mentioned, the only tzad that it's a snail, the Rav mentioned that there is a medrash, a famous medrash, shechalazon azek she godol nartika godol imoy. When the chalazon grows, the nartik grows with it, so it sounds like it has a shell. So it sounds like it has a shell. Then he mentioned different nusach of the medrash, of a medrash, and then he mentioned a sefer aruch that says it's a snail. There's no, he says the rishon, the aruch. There's no such a aruch, so that doesn't exist. But there are this medrash that says nartika gadol imoy. It's not just a svara that this is the chilazon Techeiles. It's not just a mashmois. Actually, many Gedolei Achronim base themselves on this medrash to say that the chilazon is a snail. There's no one that argues. You have to make this clear. There's no one that argues on these Achronim. There are no one that argues on anything we said from those Achronim that say the chilazon is murex, except for the Dina Rebbe. And there's no one that argues on these Achronim and even Rishonim that say that the chilazon is a snail. There are those that declared, is it a davar, is it a davar tameh? They didn't give any definitive answer. But they weren't clear what it was. We have clear from the Achronim that clearly say that based on this medrash, we know that Chilaz is a snail. We have even actually a sefer, a Rishon, the Retanchon Yishalmi. The Retanchon Yishalmi is a sefer which the Mechaber lived. He was the biggest gadol. He lived 50 years after the Rambam was nifter. He was the biggest gadol in Mitzrayim, in Syria, and his sefer was nafetz but all the dairies in Mizrach and Tamani Gedolim, all the dairies had it in Mitzrayim, Miyad Liyad. They would give it over. It was a sefer which was used by Gedolei Yisrael, all the dairies. He was a Rishon right after the Rambam. He wrote a sefer to explain what the Rambam means. Words like an aruch on the Talmud. He wrote a sefer on the Rambam to explain the words of the Rambam. So actually, he's coming to explain what the Rambam. When the Rambam says chilazon, what does the Rambam mean by the word chilazon? Chilazon hazeh. This is his words. Kolzman she godel natika godel imoy. This chilazon has a shell. He brings out this medrash that has a shell. He hachalazon ba'arvi gamkin. He says that the chilazon of this medrash is the chilazon, what we call in Arabic al chazon. It's the same word in Arabic. He goes on. V'dam chilazon shetzovim b'Techeiles gamkin min hachalazon. The chilazon of the Techeiles is also this chilazon, what we call in Arabic chilazon, and what the medrash says kolzman she godel natika godel imoy. He's clearly saying that chilazon is a snail. In Arabic, all the dairies, we have many marmakomis, we'll get to it later, Be'ez Hashem, that in Arabic, the word chilazon means snail until today's days. I heard a shaya from a friend on Techeiles. He said, when he gave the shir at Techeiles in his yeshiva, he has a few Syrians there, and they all said, what do you mean? Chilazon is a snail. That's what it is until today's days. That's how it always was. You see in all the Svarim that chilazon in Arabic meant, in all those languages over there, Eastern languages, means snail. And so Rabbi Kallus explains the Rambam that chilazon means snail. So that's a rishon which no one can argue with. Then we have on the medrash itself, the Eis Yitzchak, chilazon hazeh explains is a chomet. Nikr b'lashon arvi chilazon. He also says it's a chomet. A chomet is a snail. That's the lashon akraf of the snail. One of the Shemaya Shematzim is a chomet. He says it's the chilazon is a chomet, and it's called in Arabic. Also, he brings the same raya from Arabic. It's called chilazon in Arabic. The Techeiles Response brings down the medrash, so that's the Eis Yitzchak on the medrash itself. The Techeiles Response brings down the medrash, and he says, "Ba'orech erech chalazon hashlishi hevi hamedrash chalazon yibriya shlesh nartik agabav imken he mushal kreta." He said that this is the mushal kreta ends that cause of gaznis shatcheles nas midam mushal hanikra purpa shneka. So he clearly says that it is a shneka, which is a snail. The Techeiles Response also says that chometz is beloshen arvi al chazon shneka imuchim mizeh shechalazon atcheles chomet, and he says that's the same thing. It says in the medrash chalazon is actually godel mabisha godel imay mizeh shneka kenoida. This sefer avodah tama brings down. It says like this: V'rashi anel kosav shita las and the emes mimin hashablulim, which is a snail. V'yeshle nartik v'nartik godel imoy k'masham b'medrash. He clearly says we have over here another 6. We have the Brennan Thompson, another 5 achronim. Maria Koyen, I'll skip the Maria Koyen, the Maral Miprag's son-in-law, also says on the Medrash, Chilazon Zechomet, the Eis Yitzchak, Techeiles Response, Tvus Aretz, and Avodah Tama. All the achronim say that the Chilazon is a snail. So besides the 6 achronim that say the Chilazon is the Miyurex, we have another 6 achronim, or 5 achronim, and 1 rishon that says the chilazon is a snail. All this was totally nishmat from the whole shir. Hella, how could you give a shir trying to find out what the chilazon is without saying all these marakaimis? There's more. I was just going to read it down because these are all basics. This is the black and white from the sugi. The sugi doesn't start without this. On the medrash, Matnas Kuhuna writes on the medrash Natika Godel Imoy. He says it's telas shetzevim midamat chelas. This, what the medrash says, has a nartik, has a telas also. Something which is a telas and has a nartik obviously is a snail. And then there's the Baal Shevit Musa says this medrash is talking about the chilazon not chelas. Okay. This is actually not only, believe it or not, it's not only, we mentioned not until now these 14 Makoris. This is also on the Geonim, and there's more Rishonim that clearly say that a chilazon is a snail. There's on the Gemara, which the Rav discusses, he asks questions from this Gemara on the Mirak Strongklus. Hatzad chilazon v'hapoitzei. Gemara discusses if what you're over or not on Shabbos. So there's a guy in the Sefer Ginzik Hedem, brings down the Tshuvas HaGeonim, and the Lashon the Geonim is Hatzad chilazon he died aleo klaf, which means he teilas ashaleo nartik. The Geonim, when the Geonim write that the chilazon, hatzad chilazon, is a telas which has a nartik. Unbelievable. We have a Goyin that writes that the chilazon is a snail. What's most mind-boggling is what these next 2 Marakaimis, how the Rav didn't mention it even once. Rashi, the Rav brings down a couple of different Rashis who describes what a chilazon is. But we have 2 more Rashis that describe, and it's not mentioned even once. The Gemara by the Zohar Daf Chasam Beis speaks about different refuahs. One of the things you're supposed to use is Mishkadei Cholzaini. Rashi writes that Lim Tzpelaz. The Gemara over there says Lim Tzpelaz. The same thing is what is it? We'll get to it in a second. The Rashi in Masechtas Bechoros says Alam Chesam Aleph is a mun, and one of the things that Pasal Bechor is a mun called chilazon. So over there in Rashi it says chilazon. In front of us, the Gears of Rashi is liman, but everyone it's agreed on that there's no such word. All the people that came before Techeiles agreed that it's supposed to say, that's what it says in Kisviyadis, it's supposed to say limats. Limts, that's what it's supposed to say. And Rabbeinu Gershom over there on this mum of the Bukhar, which is called Chilazin, says clearly Chilazin Kern Belaz limits. So we have a Rashi in Avodah Zarah, Mesechtes Avodah Zarah, and Rabbeinu Gershom, and Rashi in Mesechtes Bukharius, that they say that a Chilazin is a limt. What is a limt? A limt is a snail. Rashi in Chulin, in Chagiga, and other places says that a limt is a snail. So we have clearly Rashi describing the Chilazin as a snail. Rabbeinu Gershom was even earlier Rishon that describes the Chilazin as a snail. Unbelievable. We have Rishonim that say the Chilazin is a snail. We have Rabbeinu Gershom, Rashi, Rabbeinu Techeiles Response. We have the Geonim, many Achronim that say the Chilazin is a snail. Many 6 Achronim that say the Chilazin is Strongklus. All this was left out. This is the basic Hagdama to the Chilazin Techeiles. We have more Rishonim. Rashi says the Chilazin, that the Chilazin is a type of worm creature. Rashi says in Sanhedrin Tzadik Aleph that the Chilazin is a talas sheyotzim min hayam. The Ravya in Shabbos Siman Kuf Tzadik Dalot says the Chilazin talas ve'ein lo or. The Rash and the Ravid and Teres Kahanim say that the Chilazin, the Teres Kahanim over there says, you're talking about talas shani, itelas. If it's just say the word, the Torah would say the word talas. I would think it could be any other color. As long as it comes from a worm, so that is Techeiles. That would be kosher for the talas shani. So the Torah had to write shani to tell you that it's red. That talas is not enough. So what is this talas that the Torah would be speaking about? So the Rash and the Rai would say, if the Torah would write the word talas, I would think could only the word talas, I would possibly meant the Chilazin HaTecheiles. And then we have Reb Nosson Ava Yeshiva from the Rishonim also says the Chilazin talas. The Ran, and the Ritva B'Shem the B'Shem the Ramban also says that the Chilazin is a guf atom. It means it doesn't have any avarim. Chilazin halazon halalish of ashpes. What is the Chilazin? It's a guf atom. It means some type of talas type of creature, which is found. Everyone sees in the ashpes. Besides seeing over here that the Chilazin is a famous thing that is very common in the garbage cans. They clearly say that it's some type of worm creature. So we have another, like 7, 8 Rishonim, Gedolei Rishonim that say it's a talas. So before trying to find out what the Chilazin is, these are the basic information you're supposed to know. So maybe it's a slug, maybe it's a type of worm. Okay, so we can make a big machlokes with everything we said until now, or no, we say that the Chilazin is a snail. This is a worm, and this will just add to all. Be consistent with everything we said until now. That's the discussion. We'll get to it later. But this is obviously information which has to be put down, that it's not a fish. When we say it's a dog, it's not a fish. One second. Sorry. So these are the basic black and white information you have to know before you start the whole sugya. And then, like we said before, we had the Techeiles Response that the Chilazin in Arabic is a snail. It's very important. The Rishonim use this halacha l'maisa, and we have the in the Sefer Shloshim Eben Genach, and we have the Techeiles Response for Sa'aretz and Eitz Yosef. They all refer to the lashon in the words in Arabic that Chilazin is a snail, which is pretty strong. So that is the first part of this Hagdama, that all the many Gedolei Achronim that say it's a snail, some of them that say it's Miuk Strongklus, and Rishonim that say it's a snail. These are basic things which none of these things, not one of these Maramekaimis were said over during the whole shir. and I'm repeating it over and over again because this is so important. This is just the basics. Okay, next point. Point the Rav said during his share many times that Techeiles is nignaz. He said he gave a Yeshurim on it why it's nignaz, and he's not going to go speak about it that it's nignaz, but he repeated it many times that he's not going to speak about it that it's nignaz. He made sure that everyone should understand that it's not according to the Mesorah. We have a different Mesorah than those that are wearing Techeiles. That the Mesorah for the Gans Klal Yisrael is that it's nignaz. The only problem is a Mesorah has to be given over midor dar. That is the actual meaning of Mesorah. If we are saying that is Mesorah, I ask and I beg of someone to put forth. This is a famous taina which is said over and over again that we have a Mesorah that the Techeiles is nignaz. I ask and I beg of anyone, please put down the Mesorah. Where is this Mesorah? It's such a famous Mesorah. Who is the one that's giving over this Mesorah? Please go back generations, go back to the Achronim, go back to the Rishonim, go back and find Bimiyasadach. Don't throw out a Mesorah. Can't abuse the word Mesorah is very, very important to us. Let's not abuse it. That's number one. Number two is actually the Mesorah. If we look in the Gedolei Achronim and Kadmonim, the Mesorah seems to be just the opposite. The Mesorah in Klal Yisrael seems to be that the Techeiles could come back before the Chelazim, before Mashiach. It's not nignaz. It's not some type of creature which was nignaz benes, or it's like different things that were nignaz, the Oren, different things, the Mishkan from Moshe Rabbeinu, different things that were nignaz. This is not. We have a Mesorah. If we're looking for a Mesorah, the Mesorah is actually quite clear that Techeiles, the Chilazim and Techeiles could return. And I'm just going to state those Gedolei Achronim. None of these are ever, almost never ever mentioned by the anti-Techeiles. It was nothing of them was mentioned during the whole Shir of the Rav, and it's never mentioned to anyone that goes against the Techeiles. Which, even though most of these Marakamis are quite famous, are to be found anywhere. The Maril, who is Avian Shobnei Ashkenaz, the Beis Sheva writes, Mi Yover Acha Melech Harav HaGodol Mari Molon, Shehi Rav Muvik Shal Kol HaAchronim Sheba Ashkenaz. He is the Rav Muvik of all, he's the biggest of all the Achronim Sheba Ashkenaz. When he comes to explain, there's a Shaila, the Chazal goes that a beged Pishton is pater, according to some Rishonim, is pater from Lavan also. You don't have to put on any tzitzis and a beged Pishton. Why? Because you might come to the client. So the question is, if today's days they were discussing, if in their days there was no Techeiles, is it usher to have a beged Pishton with tzitzis? Are you allowed to put in a beged Pishton tzitzis? Because that goes to you shouldn't. So that is the shaila they're discussing. Rabbeinu Tam held that it's not. Is the Zer doesn't change. The Rosh holds it does. Wouldn't have Techeiles doesn't change. So today's days you're allowed to put on tzitzis. Rabbeinu Tam says you're not allowed to put in tzitzis. And the Maril explains. The Maril goes with this shittah. You're not allowed to put in tzitzis. And the svarahu, it's a svara. Shemi Yavzeh David L'Kakulai. We might come back to the period of that is Techeiles. She had Techeiles Matzi. Kolchkin, it's just that etzem svara. We might find it. He says, and of course, he needs to say even without what he's going to say, it's a svara that we might find it. But and of course, according to what the Smag writes, because of Smag, the Oisei Dag Chalazim Hebeyam Melech, because of Simonim, the Kal HaYelas is Techeiles. He says it would be easy to make the Techeiles. So we have to be choishish, we might find it in the times of the Maril. That's what the Heilige Maril writes. He was choishish ledina that the Techeiles might come back. The Erlas Talmud, Sefer the Paiskim, in Siman Tes, writes, Afik l'dav b'man hazeh leket Techeiles, m'komotim gazrinan. B'chein perish Rabbeinu Tam, he says, Rabbeinu Tam writes this. Yesheme yizgala Techeiles v'yobi l'dei isiklayim. We are worried in the times of Rabbeinu Tam, in the times of the Talmud, we might find Techeiles, and we might come to Isiklayim. In the Sefer Shilul Zaysim, from Gedolei Taimoni Paiskim, writes the same thing. This shittah from this shittah from the Erlas Talmud is brought down in the Mishnah Berurah. he actually quotes this Eilis Tamid. If you look, he quotes that that you're not allowed to paskins that you are allowed to, but he quotes this shita that not to put tzitzis on a beged pishtan, and he's mitzayin to the Eilis Tamid, and the Eilis Tamid explains it for this reason that it might come back Techeiles. Meaning the Mishnah Berurah quotes this shita that Techeiles might come back, and we have to be chodesh for it. Those, just to clarify, those that argue that's what we passed in, that we're not chodesh, that you are allowed to put on tzitzis. It's not a diyam b'chlal. If we don't find anyone that this says, oh, the reason is because we're not chodesh because it was nignas. No one ever says that. It's just a different machlekes. Are we supposed to be chodesh? Should we be mevatel mitzvahs because it might come back, or as long as we don't have it, we don't have to worry. But if not to put on tzitzis, that's the whole shaila. It's not a discussion if we're chodesh to come back or not, if it's nignas or not. The Malbim writes, I am Shalvat Shuvas Radvaz. Efshar she'ada yoyim hi motzi ela she'en yoydim l'tzoydei. The Radvaz writes, it could be until today it's motzi, just we don't know how to catch it. According to the Radvaz, Vasad Metzitzis, we also like Pishton, we should be chodesh. Yesh chashash Shem al yom do last as Techeiles. The Klechemda Pashas Masay says the same thing, that Efshar ayidei tircha limtzay, I say, like the Radvaz writes. The Chemda Shloim and Even Ezer, the Gedei Lelita, Simon Tess, in the Chuvas Bris Avram, Simon Menvov, both quotes him, the Chemda Shloim. Ein hadova muchra shlo yimtza Techeiles af bezman hazeh. And that's what he writes. We might find it. I'm just quoting these things which are black and white. It might sound repetitive, but it's important because all these things are being ignored. They're never being mentioned. The Duvna Magid in the Sefer Hamidus, he says, if we wouldn't have a Kabbalah that Techeiles is not Makalovim, we would go searching for it. Just like this time there wasn't Motzi, Esther Glulav and Adasim, then he sent people to go far away to get it. He says, if Techeiles would have been Ma'akivis Alavan, we would have gone searching for it. Meaning to say, he understood that there was a possibility, actually, serious nefesh, but there was some type of ability to go searching and maybe find it. Pesach Frank in the Sefer Mikdash Melech says, Devade Esher Gamayoyin Limtzay Techeiles L'Mitzvah. Then, the Habeis HaLevi, very important. The Rav, when he quotes that Techeiles is not, we have a Masorah that Techeiles is not around, and it's Nignaz, he quotes a Habeis HaLevi. Which Habeis HaLevi does he quote? The one that Rabbi Yasha brings, which Rabbi Yasha brings down from the Radzina Sefer, which is Mefursim, those Makkashis Habeis HaLevi. He brings down why the Habeis HaLevi didn't put on the Radzina Techeiles. What was his tinus? So this is the lashon of the Habeis HaLevi brought down by the Radzina, brought down by the Rabbi Yashav Zechon Tzadikim Levracha. Kvoid malosei, loy bir bedvarav. The Habeis HaLevi is saying you have not explained mazois motza achash nishkach. You haven't explained to us what got lost. What did you find after it got lost? In Metzias Hadag, you haven't explained to us anything about finding the fish, the chilazon, or taking out the tzeva. Virak achrei ashekvoid malasa yivarazos. Only after you would explain to us, mimevaret us. Hayinu hainu. You explained to us. You explained to us that there was something around in times of Chazal that they had that we lost. As nium mechiyuvim l'shmei elav v'lavshei. If you could explain this to us, then we would be mechuyev. The question is, we would be mechuyev to wear it. Ochain, but in Neymar, ki hadag hayiv mitzias. But if you tell me that this dog was always around, the gam haitzois tzivoi hayidua, and they always knew how to use it for dying. B'chol hazman min hazmanim. She'avru leinu me'esha paskat Techeiles Yisrael. If you're going to tell me this thing was always around, they always used it, and and our grandparents and great-grandparents did not wear it. Then we have a Masorah that this is not the Techeiles. Even if you had proved to me 100% that this is accurate according to everything Chazal say with Techeiles and Techeiles, only then, even then, it would we would have a Messiah that is not the Techeiles and Techeiles, so it's not negated. Even if you would bring me like the sand of the ocean, proof that this is it. It's not going to help against the Messiah Kabbalah of Messiah. Only after you explain to us and be mevaret to us that this chilaza and the way and the dog and the way they made it stopped, the nishkach, and it got lost. Any time in the times when nifsaka b'zeh Kabbalah and the Kabbalah got lost, then we like I said before, we'd be chuv to listen to you and wear it, and it would be a raya, your proofs to use for a raya. So what the Beis Levi is really saying is that something which other Gedolah Achronim said, the Chasnish and the Shus Malka and others said, that the Radzina came with a squid, with a cuttlefish, which was pretty famous, was used for things it was used for ink in the pen, and it was always around. The Vilna Gaon had it. Someone showed me a newspaper. He said he doesn't know why the Radzina, times of the Radzina, this is written in Shas Ma'aseh, why the Radzina had to go to Italy to look for the Techeiles and Techeiles. Cuttlefishes, I find it in every corner. So he's saying that if this is something which is Matzi, we all knew about it and no one used it, so we have a Masera against it. But if not, we're mechuyev to listen to it. This is what, after the Yashiv brings this down, he writes, and I don't know if what the Chaykim say, this is the Techeiles and Techeiles, is applied to this or not. We'll get to that maybe later. But it's amazing. The Beis Levi actually says just the opposite. That if you could prove me that this thing was lost and the Messiah was lost, the nifsik of Zeh Kabbalah, then we would be mechuyev to listen to you. He actually says just the opposite. Whatever the Beis Levi is saying is very consistent with all the other Achronim that say that it's possible to bring it back and prove that this is the Techeiles and Techeiles. It's mind-boggling that the Rav brings this as a yesod for the Messiah that we don't have Techeiles. Actually, Beis Levi is another makar, most like all the Achronim write that we could bring back the Techeiles and Techeiles if we prove this is it, and we have the sufficient proofs to prove it. Now, the important to point out that the Yashiv starts off the question, what's the halach in Roy v'Nochel hatel tzitzis tzvua b'tzevet Techeiles achrei shlodas choykim b'zmanenu bor lahem shematzah l'sechalazen sh'amra Torah. His question was presented. We found the Chalazen, the Chaykim, the archaeologists, and the people that are searching found the claim to find the Chalazen Techeiles. Nothing Toradic was presented to the Yashiv. Should we listen to what they say? It wasn't a question of his Chavas Das on the beer if we found it or not. It was just a question: should we be choishish for what they're saying? So Rabbi Yashiv says, he brings up Beis Levi, he says, I have no clue. You didn't present me with any history. So I don't know, these are his words. I don't know if this taina applies this or not. And the Rav says, Rabbi Kallus says the same exact thing. I don't know. And he was madgashin, ended the share a couple of times. He said it over, repeated these words, and I don't know if it applies in this thing. Now, this is the basics. These are the basics. This idea that the Muruk Shokas was not around, that was lost, and the Xeris Malchus and details of not having it was not around. These are the basics. Anyone that researched it a little bit, all this that speak about it, quote this. I don't know how in the world the Rav did not know. The Rav quotes this and he emphasizes this point of the Yashiv. The Rav says the same thing. He does not know if this taina of the Beis Levi applies to this Muruk Shonkelis, which is clearly, no shaila b'chlal, that it does not apply. And that's why most of the Misnag Techeiles don't even quote this Mr. Levi, because this Mr. Levi is actually consistent with all Gedolei Achronim that we could reinstate Techeiles if we prove it al pi the Torah the way it's supposed to be done. So it's unbelievable that this is even quoted for our source and having a Masori that we don't have the Techeiles. Now, another source I have over here put out by the Hapelas, a likut from different things that was said over. It's called like a little mimer. Levi Omar Timecha v'Yirecha l'Ish Chasidecha. It's different zechronis which Hagoyin Hagadol and Moshe Sternbach said over on the Brisker Rav Zechronis Tzadik Levracha. A lot of different things from all different topics. On one topic speaks about over there is tzitzis b'tchelas. Pam achas, he writes, he said over the Moshe Sternbach is in Zinten Stak Sharafu Shalema. Pam achas, k'shechanachti l'meron hagriz. I once went and he was very close to the Brisker Rav. I once went into the Brisker Rav. Re'isa, I saw him Yoshev Yachad in Benoy Hagadol Hagrid. He saw the Brisker Rav and Rebel sitting down, learning together. The loime imay is a kuntras atchelas shel admir radzin. They were learning together the Sefer, the Radziner have a Sefer. This is no pro Techeiles is writing this. It's not fabricated by anyone. This is something which was written by people that are not connected to Techeiles, no shaykhs to Techeiles, saying over by Moshe Sternbach a fact which he saw with his eyes. But he saw the Brisker Rav and Rebel Soloveitchik, the Rosh Hashiva from Brisk, sitting and learning the Radziner Sefer. Because the Brisker Rav was a big Yerushalayim, and he was terrified that we might be mevatel mitzvahs. It's a pella because no one was mekabel, and if you do other things he said about the Techeiles. But it seems like he once got worried. We should figure it out ourselves. Why are we relying on anyone else? Let's sit down and learn. That's why Yoshev Levara Hitubasugi went through good. And if maybe he found the Techeiles. This is what Moshe Sternbach quoted. If he held it was Nignaz, if he had a Messiah was Nignaz, and obviously he would never have done that. Especially according to what the Rav says, that even if you prove it to me that it's it, that we would be potter from wearing it. And obviously the Brisker Rav didn't hold of that, at least according to Moshe Sternbach. The Yerucham Fischl Perlau, we wrote a sefer on the Sefer Mitzvah. He wrote on the Psati Goyin, a big fat sefer, Goyin Oilam. So he wrote a oris on the sefer from the Radzina sefer. And when the Radzina discusses about finding the Techeiles, could you reinstate it or not? He says, "To me, Ani Ala Machaber, I have a Tmu on Machaber, that he doesn't bring a Ramban. We have a Ramban that says clearly that Techeiles was a Nignaz, and it's possible maybe to find it. This is his lashon. The lashon he quotes like this: "Tmiani al machaber shlo yihor al divrei Haramban, the machames the Shabbos shekosa v'hine lebal hamor." According to the Baal Hamor, achshav of mekaymis halalu ein adam tzarech lahat lov levade. In our places, says the Ramban, according to the Baal Hamor, that holds that Techeiles is machames lovin, we don't have to put lovin by itself. What's the words? V'mekaymis halalu. Zok Yerucham Fischl shnir behadim l'shoyda shehem Ramban the gambas manoi eshe yesh mekaymis shoylam Techeiles. Not only could you find it, Ramban said possible that there are places that you might go and find it in his times that might even have it in use. Okay, so all these gedolim obviously hold that you could find the Techeiles. There's no Masorah on the Techeiles of Nignaz. And there were many gedolim that were the Radzina Techeiles. There was a guy in the Doven Naim in Lakenbach. He was the Raven in Preshborg. Talmud Chasam wore the Radzina Techeiles. The Saris Shuba wanted to get it. The Rasham writes in his Tzava, he brought in the beginning of the Sefer Techeiles Marcha that he asked me buried the Radzina Techeiles. In Orches Chaim, in Orches Rabbeinu from the Stipler, brings down the Itzvah Panovich wore the Radzina Techeiles. The Stipler himself said that the reason that he would put on the Radzina Techeiles, but he doesn't want people copying him, so that's why he doesn't do it. Reb Chaim Berlin, there's a letter from the Chaim Berlin that asks the Radzina to send him Techeiles. I heard from an Enikel from the Bial Rebbe that his grandfather wore the Radzina Techeiles. Many Gedolim wore it. And obviously, they didn't hold that the Techeiles was nignaz, or else it was just the whole discussion doesn't start. The last Maramokum on this subject I would like to quote is the Chaznish. The Rav quoted the Chaznish. He said, I'm not going to speak about the Chaznish that says, what do you lose from wearing Techeiles? You know, so he said a famous story that there was this person walking around with glasses without lenses because what do you lose? So the Rav said in today's days there are people that wear glasses, would wear glasses without lenses, so their kind of what do you lose doesn't apply. Basically, so this Chaznish, which is very, very famous, it says, what do you lose for wearing Techeiles? You're Meshuggah if you do things just because what do you lose? What is always left out is the words of the Chaznish. This obviously comes from the Maisa Ish, maybe other places also, but the Maisa Ish, before they quote this, there's a whole arichis, which is unbelievable and expected, always omitted. They bring down from Rav Shraga Hyman, you can look it up in his Sefer itself, Rav Shraga. He was a goyin, a big Talmid Chacham, a close friend with Rav Shlomo Gavletzky, Zechanan Tzadik Levracha. He was very interested in the topic of Techeiles, and he went to the Chaznish to speak about the Zinas Techeiles. We should put it on it. Maybe it's a suffix. At least a suffix we should put it on it. So the Chaznish told him, I feel a suffix income. There's no even suffix. All the Chachmei Hadar in times of the Radzina, Cholki Alav, they were cholking him. V'yochav Rabim, Halach Rabim. Reuben Kukulam Cholki Alav, Ibn Neim, he writes the base of labor was against it. The Ochashal Baal Cheshik Shloime, and he writes that the brother from the Cheshik Shloime, Hagorel B'Ratzal HaKoyen, wrote a sefer called Yaches and Mitzri Tanai B'chol against all the tinus of the Radzina. We don't know what sefer he's talking about, but this is what the Chaznish, this was quoted from Reb Shraga Hyman. This is what the Chaznish said, that they all were they all went through the sugya and they argue with the beard of the Radzina Rebbe. And he said, so he asked, maybe it was the Shaila from Midas, maybe it was, we can't like. Those that didn't want to accept the Redzinas because they want to accept him because of who he was or whatever. He says, how can you speak about any other? It was a Shaila from the Raisa, and of course they went through it, and that's what they came out. So that's why Yachiv Rabban, we don't have a suffix. Another time, the Redzina, the Chaznish told him, there's no. What could you lose? He used this svara. What could you lose? Just the opposite. There's no problem. And Chaznish said, even if with the slightest chance for that this would be the right Techeiles, all the Gedolim would have put it on. Why not? Meaning to say that svara of why not, when we're talking about a bittul mitzvah Techeiles, if there's even a slightest reason, then we say why not. After all this, it's brought down. The Chaznish said the Imloy Lo Yazik and that taina. Meaning to say only after the Chaznish was clear that we have a psak from Gedolei Achronim, from the Friedrich Gedoris, that this is not the Chelas, not Techeiles. That's why we're saying from them. Only then could you say it's Meshuggah to put it on. So that is the taina of the Chaznish, which was omitted by all those that disagree with the Techeiles. So actually, from the Chaznish itself is proof that if we could prove it, you're mechuyev to wear. That is consistent, as we said until now. That it's very consistent with the Achronim that we could bring back the Techeiles. So I would end off with the Bakasha. If anyone has a line of a Messiah against this line, please line it up and let's discuss it. I haven't seen anyone quoting a Messiah, a detailed Messiah of anyone, any Gedolei Achronim that lived 100 years ago, to say that this is not the Chelas, not Techeiles, and actually that Techeiles is Nignaz, and actually we have just the opposite, a Messiah from Gedolei Yisrael, that the Chelas is not Nignaz, and it might come back. The Sefri that the Rav spoke that Techeiles is Nignaz, mentioned, the Ramban says it's going in the time of after Yemei Mashiach, in the time of Tchias HaMeisim. So according to that Sefri, if you learn that means that we're not going to have Techeiles, we're not going to have Techeiles when Mashiach comes back. obviously that's impossible to say. And the Medrash says that Medrash Rabbah says Techeiles Nignas Ein Sham and the Mefarshim, but it's irrelevant because we have Gedolah HaPoskim that say that the Chalazim could come back, and that should make the end of the discussion. That should make this Messiah that Techeiles could come back. Okay, that's the second point. The first point was all the Gedolah Achronim that say the Chalazim is the Murex trunkless and is a snail, and Rishonim that say that. The second point was the Messiah. Now we'll go to the third point. The Gedolei Yisrael, those that are not wearing Techeiles are against the Gedolei Yisrael. Unbelievable. Against the zakat of people that are against, are making a revolution against Gedolei Yisrael. They're not listening to Gedolei Yisrael. Not alone, they're against the Messiah. The Messiah. Not alone, they're against Rishonim. They're against the Gedolei Yisrael. They're against Gedolei Yisrael. It's amazing. There are so many Chashav Rabbanim, so many Gedolei Yisrael that held of the Techeiles. That held this is the Chalazim Techeiles. Many of the Rabbanim that held, that don't even hold of it, told their Talmidim, if you're convinced, go ahead. Tava al bracha. Many of them said, are encouraged it. I don't know how we could use the Gedolim and use it, this topic, and say that these people are going against the Gedolim. Just to mention a few, some of them are Yedua, some of them are not. Rebelski Zechanim Tzadik Yivracha, the Shiva Tevedas, everyone knows word of Techeiles. He actually on videos saying that it's for sure Techeiles. Actually, I have a recording which is not famous. Rebelski said he looked into the subject for 20 years, and he's convinced that this is the Chalazim of Techeiles. I want to have someone that looked into the subject for that long, even a fraction of that came out against Techeiles. Reb Zalman Nechemia Goldberg is a big posik. Most of the big part of the Haro and Chosh Mishpat today came from him. He wore of Techeiles. He actually, I spoke to his uncle. He told me he encouraged him that his uncle, small kids, should wear Techeiles. Reb Zalman Kreiser, I have a letter from a Talmud from Reb Zalman Kreiser, said he wore Techeiles and he saw him wearing Techeiles. Reb Shai Levlitsky, we have a picture of him wearing Techeiles. We have a letter of him saying that he wears Techeiles on his Talis cotton. Reb Chaim Pinchas Scheinberg, we have a picture of him wearing Techeiles, and I know the person who he asked to give the Murex trunkless Techeiles. Actually, I spoke to a Talmud that was someone that was close to him. Not a Talmud, but someone that was close to him, and he asked him, should he put on the Murex trunkless Techeiles? And he told him, unbelievable, as long as they don't disprove it, why shouldn't you put it on? They need to say, in order not to put it on, you should have to disprove it. So, similar to what the Chazon Ish said, that if it would be a Tzeltz or Safek, you should put it on. Why not? Zilman wrote that he studied this subject over for a year, and he anti-being a Techeiles Yosem Mishana, and Mishtuchim Bezeh Bevadois Gemura, Shayidov Yotzim to get a Safek V'Ino Dayin El Masha Ein Evroyes. The Lord Rav is the kind of Racha wore this Techeiles. Rabbi Yaakov Weinberg, Shini V'nei Yisrael, is the kind of Racha wore this Techeiles, and Reich Weinberg is the kind of Racha wore this Techeiles, and many others is the kind of Racha wore it. And there are many Gedolei Yisrael B'zman Hazeh that wear it. Rabbi Mazuz, Rosh Shiva, Kisar Achmim, from the Gedolim Sfadim trades, encourages it over and over again, encourages people to wear Techeiles. Rabbi Eli Bevachvagel Shlita is Yidua. All Talmidim have seen his Techeiles. The Yozum man Rashiv from Adair Yo, Ramosha Matcha Farbshner, Rashiv from Chevron, Kalman Epstein, Shiva Shara Torah, Rechaim Kluft, Yeshiva from Kilos Yaakov, Ramosha Matcha Karp, famous Pesach. Where is it? Gershom Molzer, a Chashav of Pesach in Yerushalayim. Where is it? Holds of it very strong. It was inspiring. Now I heard from two Kli Rishons. Moshe Sternbach started wearing Techeiles. L'pa'amim, he wears Techeiles. He actually was printed two tshuvas in his Sorim against Techeiles. He actually started wearing Techeiles. He says it doesn't sound like he's convinced that this is it, but I actually know the person who he asked it from and who gave it to him, and he told him that he can be Mefarsim, that he's chayzer from those tshuvas. He holds that the Chalazim had Techeiles. He wears the new Chalazim. Other bunch of Chashav Rabbanim, Reb Kiva Sefer, I can't go through all the names. It's not so important. The Shmuel Navel writes, "Ein mokem lahatel safek b'maskana ki chalazim yurek shranklos hi amakara amiti letzeva atcheles." From the Bdatz writes, "Shemin zeh shechilazim yushav kol hakoshes kushiyas v'kulayim ledava shi atcheles anochen." Reb Nissen Kaplan said by a shir to David Lichtenstein that the longer I looked into this a long time, and the more I look into it, the more I get convinced that this is the right Techeiles. He doesn't wear it because Rabbeim didn't wear it, but he's convinced that this is it. Reb Falkus Tzadik Yivracha, his Talmud that puts out his Svarim, his Psakim, writes in a letter, "Be'inyan Techeiles Samyutim Murex L'Meiter Zechayni." As far as I remember, in the years, Meshach Hashem also Inyan. The discussion came up a few times. And he was carved levada that this is the Techeiles Shedibra Olav Torah. And he said, if you need any proof that this is the right Techeiles, look at the anti-Techeiles. And for that itself, the times are so shvach, you prove that this is it. And so on. Gedolei Yisrael that are klar, that say that this is it. Many more. I'll stop over here. Okay. Until now, what we have over here, this is the Hagdama. Sorry for taking the Hagdama so long. This is the Hagdama for anyone that wants to learn Techeiles. This is the Hagdama you have to know before even going into proof. What we have here is Hamoin Achroinim and Rishonim, and from the Gaonim that the Chilazon is a snail. We have Gedolei Achroinim that say the Techeiles is the snail, which is the Murex Trunculus. We have another Gedolei Rishonim that say the Chilazon was a worm. That say that it's the same thing what it's called in Arabic. All these are the basics for the shir. Then we have the Messiah that is Gedolei Achronim gave us the Messiah that the Chilazon might come back. We have to be choishish that the Chilazon might come back. Ladina halacha lamaisa many Gedolei Achronim were choishish ladina. That should be the Messiah for us that the Chilazon not Techeiles might come back and be choishish to be var the sugya. That is the only Messiah that exists. There is no other Messiah that exists. And then we have many Gedolei B'zman Hazeh that hold that the Chilazon is this is the right Chilazon not Techeiles, and many Gedolei Achronim that hold that are wearing it and that wore it, and many of them that are encouraging to wear it. Obviously, everything's done with Derech HaTorah, but this is the Hagdama that just to set the facts straight. And I'll repeat again, it is clear that the Rav was misled by certain people which didn't have the Rav's best intentions in mind.